So I'm hitting another button, nose, nose, inside, outside, toes, toes, up, down, toes, toes. There's a song I used to sing with that. Now it looks like we're live. So it looks like yabba dabba do. We figured it out, we think. Good morning, Bliss Collective. This is the Hump Day Happy Chat. It's another Wednesday, a hump day. I'm seeing multiple things right now. And in all of these multiple things, I'm not 100% sure that I'm doing it correctly. So what I have done is started using a new software program for my live videos to enhance the quality of my live videos. So yabba dabba do. I'm going to type in here, tell me how I'd love some feedback on the quality of my new video stream. So I'm Valerie Shepard. Welcome to the Hump Day Happy Chat. It is a beautiful Wednesday. Heat warnings in effect in the upper 90s, which is, I think, unusual for where I am in Southern California. Although Southern California is desert, I think this is unusual for where I am. It is, I'm coming to you from the Hartley Center for Mindfulness and Self-Mastery. Self-mastery is mastering you in your life so that you can exquisitely manage whatever your life brings your way. This morning, my life brought my way, even though I had practiced and had notes and thought I was crystal clear on how to do this. I was gifted an opportunity to see myself in action dealing with something that might be considered, oh my gosh, an emergency. Not sure it's I wouldn't call it an emergency, but a snafu. Something not going exactly the way I wanted it to go. And I think this is perfect. It's so perfect. When you think about self-mastery and your life happening for you, not to you, then every situation in your life is giving you an opportunity, it's giving me an opportunity to see myself and to ask if what I'm observing is my real self or the not self. And if I say, I think it was the not self, and I'll give you some ways that you can tell, the not self, then it's not a matter of beating myself up. It's a matter of saying, okay, so in the self-awareness, self-acceptance, self-love equation, those are the three pillars of self-mastery, according to Valerie Shepard. Self-awareness, self-acceptance, self-love. What am I noticing about my awareness? Where do I feel like I'm maybe not as powerful in some aspect of this as I thought I was? Not as powerful in some aspect of this as I thought I was. Don't know. Panic. Lately, I feel like I'm being called into newness of my operating system. Like, what operating system are you on? This is a part of self-mastery. It's a part of living happy to be me, is choosing the operating system that you're going to allow to run you. You're going to allow to dictate to you. And so today's topic is kind of from this dance that I've been doing. And it's beautiful. I had this conversation with a mentor of mine, Reverend Dr. Kimberly Maroney, who's the president of Gateway University, which is a university that studies higher consciousness. That's my stuff. I love that stuff. And we were having this conversation about this. And as soon as we started this conversation, I was like, of course, this is this is what I'm going to talk about in Hump Day Happy Chat. So let's get into it. And remember that I love your comments and questions and disagreements. Even bring in some new perspective. You'll be serving the entire audience, and that's always beautiful to have other energies in here saying, "What about? I don't know. I was thinking, but in my life it looks like this." That's beautiful. That's welcome here. Bring it on. So this is a piece of the equation that anybody who's wanting bliss has to remember. And I say that on purpose. Has to. It is that critical that you remember this. Life is happening in the present moment. It's happening right now. This is the only place it's happening. And we can get caught in the illusion of things being present even though they're not. And we're somewhat conditioned, right? We're somewhat conditioned. So in previous generations, when there wasn't an internet, there wasn't TV, there was barely even any radio, you didn't have things pulling at you from halfway around the world, or a thing called a repeat, right? I'm watching a repeat. I'm listening to a video that aired 2 years ago. Like, hey, when I'm looking at YouTube recently uploaded, there are still things that say recently uploaded, but they're actually from 2 years ago. So we can be caught in an illusion, although we're right here in this present moment, we could be caught in an illusion that has nothing to do with the present moment. We think it is. And so we can get our juices going, and it's coming from some other time and place entirely. May not even have been directed at me. And still, it's bringing up things. So in my experience, it's that whole past of how rapidly, I grew up, there wasn't an internet, and things did not come across the globe as quickly as they did. And I wasn't really permitted to spend a lot of time watching TV anyway, so didn't get into a lot of those dynamics. I learned a lot of being in the future or the past. I learned a lot at work. I practiced it a lot at work. It's called, looking at yesterday's data to try and predict forward, called a forecast, to forecast forward what the business going to be doing, and therefore what should we be doing in order to drive volume, in order to make the best outcomes happen based on what we were doing today. But that was always a looking backwards and a looking forward. It was always back and forward, back and forward, back and forward. And so I learned that I had conditioned myself to be outside the present a lot. I was always working towards something in the future. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with evaluating the past. It's when that stuff happens as though that's all there is. That's the most important thing. Like as though that's what you should be focused on. That's what we worry about. So the whole idea is, what's coming up for you, and how is your life showing that to you? What kinds of things are showing up, and how deeply are they embedded in your, what I call the Eunice of you? The Eunice of you. One of the questions that I encourage and invite people to ask themselves is, who am I being when I think I'm being me? Who am I being when I think I'm being me? And why is that an important question? It's because of the title of this happy chat, right? What stories are stored in your bones? Because our stories can come from a lot of different places. And the science of epigenetics is even showing that a story that I might be running isn't even mine. That there is post-traumatic slave disorder in my ancestral line, descendants of slaves and sharecroppers. So their inherited traumas in my DNA. They're showing this with post-traumatic stress disorder in Gulf War veterans, that descendants, young children can actually be displaying evidence of hereditarily transmitted PTSD. I think this fascinates me, and I think it's amazing. And the question is, what stories are stored in your bones, and where do they come from? And who are you being when you think you're being you? So I said a moment ago, I would tell you how you can tell whether you're really being you. And I talk about this in my book as well. I go into areas of the false self, the not self, the ego-based self, which is often built on wounds, misunderstandings, trauma, anything that sort of disrupts the higher vibration of us, which is always what we incarnated as: peace, love, joy, and emotional freedom. It's going through the twists and turns of our lives that our emotional freedom gets a little bottled up in something else. So these traumas can be um, as simple as reaching for something that we're like, our little 2-year-old self knows that is the perfect thing for me, and I want to experience the reach and the grab, and then something comes in that says, no, that's hot, don't touch that. So obviously that's a loving protective activity that happened, and at the same time it might have scared the crap out of me, and then now made me unsure of my desire for things, made me unsure of whether I should go after things, and creates this little bubble of, what some people call pain. It's just a bubble of what I call misunderstanding, a dynamic that happened that my cognitive ability wasn't able to really read. Parents or guardians or siblings or aunties or clergy or teachers or whoever else might be in a position of guardianship of a time, whether that's the hour of whatever, or when you're at the babysitter's, or whatever that guardianship is, it sets a pattern. It sets something in the system. So we might have excuses for our own downfall. Well, I filed bankruptcy and here's why. We may have stories of defending ourselves and, what I was defending myself against and why do I need to defend myself. We have stories of how somebody misunderstood me and then I misunderstood them and all the misunderstandings. We may have stories about blame. They blamed me, I blame them. We may have stories of shame. I'm so ashamed. And some of us may have grown up with, you should be ashamed of yourself. And so we take on this. And so excuses, defenses, guilt, whenever we get riled up and like, how dare you talk to me that way? Like those kinds of things. And when we're like jabbing, are you feeling me? Like those are the not self. It's not evil. It's not even necessarily that you are consciously trying to be the not self, because these stories, these reactions, these stories are stored in our psyches. And I say bone level just to say way down deep, deeper still. And you may have to go in and root them out. And what they are is reactions coming from our personality or our identity. Personality and our identity, not the true self, which doesn't need a personality or identity. Personality and identity are created aspects of us that rose out of our need to be lovable, our need to get love. And so we create these personalities and identities because we notice the associations. Well, when I do this, the mother's face smiles, the father's countenance changes, the sibling plays more with me. Like we notice you're a pretty bright being. And so we can see the connections. And so our personalities develop from watching what happens when we ping off of the universe. And then we create ideas about ourselves. I'm more lovable in this scenario. I'm less lovable in this scenario. I'm least lovable in this scenario. And then we create aspects of ourselves. So our standards, what's our standard? We create our sacred cow beliefs. Summertime has started. One of the ones I use for an example all the time is you're not supposed to wear white shoes after Labor Day. So, Labor Day will be coming up in a couple of months, and then white shoes, I'll have my question about, can I wear white shoes? I don't really ask that question anymore. I just do what I want to do. But it's interesting that was a sacred cow belief. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Platitude that may also be a sacred cow belief. And rules of engagement. I only talk to this kind of people. I don't bring this up in these circumstances. I don't date those kinds of people. I would never quit my job under these circumstances. So those rules of engagement, often they hem us in and keep us in a straitjacket way of being. And many of you, if you really go into the surface, if you go below the surface of these things, you'll start to go, where did I pick this up? That's not as important as, because that's all about the past. That's great to know. It's not necessary to know for you to transform what's not working for you or what's not serving you. So you could just say, I don't think I like this anymore. I don't think I'm having the most freedom. I don't think it's giving me the most agility, flexibility as me in my life. I think I'm going to put that down. Like, you could just do that in the present moment. You don't necessarily have to trace it back to anything. And tracing it back is also helpful. It shows you the twists and turns. For me, it always shows me what I didn't notice before. Like, it might show me, oh, that's what it looks like when I'm really in reaction. That's what it looks like. That's what's happening with me. That's what's being triggered. This is a really important word. It's something happens, it pings off of this old belief or this pattern, and it triggers me into a certain response or reaction. So the stories start to run. I'm actually in a loop, an ongoing loop of triggered reaction, triggered reaction, triggered reaction. Now the trigger gets pinged, and the whole idea is, if we're really awake at the wheel of our lives, if we're really consciously choosing, as Satyen Raja would say, a conscious being of choice, if I'm really exercising my consciousness in my ability to choose, then I would notice, ooh, I'm in reaction. Many times, I don't. I didn't when I was completely living in the false self. And even now, as I'm dancing at a much higher vibration much more of the time, there are times when only in retrospect can I see, oh, that wasn't my best moment, or my best day, or my best week. Sometimes it's only in retrospect. And then when that happens, I remember peace, love, joy, and freedom, and that I don't have to blame and shame myself, and I don't have to guilt myself. I can clean things up inside me and with any other that I need, that I'm in relationship with. So what's the moral of the story? The idea is to notice when you're outside your true self. High vibration, love, tolerance, harmony, compassion, joy or bliss. Those, like curiosity, those are high vibration. Even empathy. And then you start to slide a little. Even neutrality is a higher vibration than being in reaction, than being in anger and frustration and disappointment, in sadness, in guilt, in shame, in blame, in punishment, in rage. So when we notice, the whole idea is to try and return to the holy self as quick as you can. And if you notice it in the midst of a dynamic and you're about to speak or to contribute, definitely don't speak or contribute when you're in your low vibration self. Allow it to, the play button's been hit, allow it to run, allow it. And you can do an interrupt, as I say, and as Reverend Dr. Kimberly also says, it's about gratitude. So when the going gets tough, get going into gratitude is my saying. And Reverend Dr. Kimberly was, when we're in the low vibration self and we want to elevate back to the holy self, that's her word, I love it, the holy self, gratitude can be the interrupt that allows us the space to do that. And so in that moment, we kind of release the old programming by being grateful for whatever's showing up. I'm grateful for this moment as an opportunity to see myself at play in my life. I'm grateful for this opportunity to give me another dance with my own self-mastery. I'm grateful for what's happening right now. I got really triggered. And I'm really grateful to myself that I didn't, after being triggered, go into blame, shame, guilt, and punishment. I'm really grateful that in this moment I'm able to actually feel myself at a deep level and make it okay. That what's coming up is not great. To get into a relationship with it that helps it dissipate. Whatever we resist persists. That's a law of resistance, a universal law. You can't outrun it. Whatever I resist persists in my life. And so I'm all about, and I don't always do this consciously, but I'll welcome it when it shows up unconsciously or subconsciously. I welcome the opportunity to help the energy that's been stored in my bones to dissipate. What happens then? Well, that's the emotional freedom. So when I release the stuff that's stored in my bones, I don't have to walk around expressing it. I can just be me. I don't have to walk around acting and behaving from this place of what's the wound stored in my bones. Makes sense? Okay. I have no idea what's actually made it into this live video and what hasn't. And that's, part of my dance with doing something new. And I have taken on a new behavior. I am accepting that I don't always have all the technology ducks in a row. And I'm releasing the idea that I don't do technology well. That's just a story. That's just a story. And you can see how it can get created from a long time ago. And I'm just willing to release that now and to create a relationship with technology as it shows up. Today it was quite a dance. So that's it, Bliss Collective. What are the stories stored in your bones? And what you want to do, so you use gratitude as the interrupt, and then you wait to engage. And that's a hard one for me. Sometimes I can't imagine waiting an hour. Some things I interpret an emergency need to send the email, to pick up the phone call, to interrupt the conversation. I feel it so strongly. And I'm getting much more accomplished at doing the interrupt into void. If I just snap my fingers to give myself the interrupt and then allow a void where I'm not saying or doing anything, so that the not self, the false self, the rules of engagement, all that kind of muckety, junkety, yuck stuff can quiet and doesn't have to be expressed as a part of me coming from personality and identity. And then if you want to, you go deeper into where did this come from and you trace it. I'm noticing there's something that keeps showing up. I'm not exactly sure what it is. It's got some unlovability in it. It's got some, the story is I don't belong here. The deeper story is they won't allow me to belong. They are preventing me from belonging. And at the deepest sense of belonging, it's the sense of being able to give your whole heart and for people to receive that as beautiful and magnificent, even when it's not necessarily being presented that way. And so I'm seeing, oh wow, I've got this, I'm not lovable enough, and I don't belong here. And what I will tell you right this moment, as I say those words, the response inside me is very equanimous. It is so neutral that I know that these tapes aren't running at the same vibration that they were, at the same frequency or the same volume that they used to be. They'll never go away, and we should never be wanting them to go away. They're a part of an aspect of us, and they got us to where we are today. The question is, in this present moment, is it still serving me? In this present moment, is it still serving me? And after I make that determination, how do I want to choose what I want to be and do? Yay. Okay. Hump Day Happy Chat signing off here. Again, please type hashtag replay if you're watching on the replay. Please share your questions and comments. That's how we make the environment of the Bliss Collective even richer, even more fun, even more dynamic, even more engaging. And we'll have another opportunity to get together live. I'm kind of considering what I'd like it to be, but I'd really love to do another live where we're all together, where people can come in and play, probably in the next couple of weeks. So I always close the Hump Day Happy Chat with the Karanaya Metta Sutra, which is the prayer of loving kindness from the Buddha. I pray lots of other prayers too, but I love this one for a collective like ours. May all beings be peaceful. May all beings be safe. May all beings be happy, bliss-filled. May all beings awaken to the light of their true nature. Like, whoo, your true nature is huge. High vibration. Awaken to the light of their true nature. And may all beings be free. Emotional freedom. Free to be the truest you there is. Many blessings. Now we get to see how I turn this whole thing off. Thank you so much. See you next time. Hump Day Happy Chat signing off. It's been Valerie Shepard in the Bliss Collective in the Hartley Center for Mindfulness and Self-Mastery. Here we go. Signing off. Bye.